Everybody, in this video we'll try to understand some more interesting things about Mula Nakshatra. See, if somebody is belonging to Mula Nakshatra, what kind of professions that particular person can take up? Mula is mainly related to the research oriented jobs, scientific research, or any kind of research, or getting into the root of anything is Mula's fundamental behavior. So, if you observe, Mula persons are also related to healing because Mula indicates roots, plant roots. So, healers, doctors, and other such people who administer poisons, shots, and vaccines. Even dentists are related to Mula energy. Mainly anything related to medicine, right? That's related to Mula. And ministers, preachers, police officers, detectives and investigators. So this kind of going into the root of anything, analyzing the things, very going into deep root is what makes Mula's energy. So that's where they are very good police officers, detectives and investigators, judges, even hitmen and soldiers, researchers mainly, especially in the field of microbiology and genetics. Their research is exceptional. And astronomers, and also orators, public speakers, all professions involving oratical ability, like mass leaders, rock musicians, debaters, and anything related to herbs, roots, root vegetables like carrots, potatoes, right? So that's all Mula's energy only. Even bodyguards, wrestlers, homicides, squads, politicians, those practicing tantra, especially aghoras, related to Mula energy. And voodoo practitioners like black magic and all this, right? Nuclear physicists, mathematicians, professional agitators, and gold diggers and treasure hunters, horse trainers, and all those involved in kind of equine sports, and psychotherapists, astrologers. Mining is also related to Mula energy, because mining is under the earthly surface. It is basically related to. Even coal and petroleum industry is also related to that. So that also falls under Mula's energy. All professions involving investigation of any kind is also Mula, as we discussed previously. See, professions involving destructive activities is also related to Mula. And the kind of places that Mula energy we can observe are deserts, high mountain regions where special herbs are found, and dense rainforests and other such inaccessible places, frozen deserts like Antarctica, bottom of oceans, lakes, and hidden subterranean caves, earth's core, all layers beneath the earth's surface. Anything beneath the earth's surface has the Mula's energy. Small isolated islands and places, big institution buildings, supreme courts and other courts of justice, and cremation grounds and cemeteries, places connected to death and death rituals is also related to Mula. Agricultural, water, land, war grounds, drought areas, places where kind of mass calamities takes place, a lot of destruction takes place, that is also Mula, right? So, and if you observe, Mula is a tamasic nakshatra in the sense that it relates to the dark and passive aspect of nature, right? And so it is related to tamasic energy, because the roots, if you observe, they are most of the time they are static, and that's basically tamasic. right? And kind of death, it's related to the death, smoking, intoxication also to some extent, because it's the herbs, the roots and all, right? Those are all related to that. It's all tamasic basically. So, and it is airy in nature because it belongs to air element. So you may think why it is airy. After all, it is connected to the fiery sign Sagittarius, fiery Jupiter, the fiery Ketu, and all fiery planets and fiery signs. See, air element is directly connected to the Vata humor. So, as we discussed in our previous videos, also the death process is mainly related to airflow in the body. So that's where the little connection there, the important and very significant connection, made it as a kind of airy behavior. And it is a Rakshasa or demonic nakshatra. It is a powerful nakshatra which can give domination and lordship, and this can sometimes gives ego, vanity, arrogance. This is all we discussed in our previous videos. So after getting this power, right, they get ego, vanity, arrogance, whatever, right? So they generally try to harass others after getting the power. So the two kings that we also discussed, like Kamsa and Ravana, right, they are also related to Mula energy. So Ravana and Kamsa, they are related to Mula. So they started harassing and killing without discrimination after gaining influence and power, as we discussed. And it is a downward nakshatra. See, roots grow underneath, right? So basically it's downward. So in the sense, as we know, it has energy. This Mula has energy which is always trying to move towards the center or inner core. It involves digging, whether it be for earthly treasures like gold or petroleum, or more important things like, on spiritual level, if you go root, you will get enlightenment. So it is hard, sharp and dreadful nakshatra. Just like, this dreadful behavior is seen in Ardra, Aslesha, Jesta and Mula generally. So its sharpness relates to the sharp and often harsh way Ketu functions. So this relates more to the destructive aspect of Ketu. See, sometimes sharpness is necessary to initiate an important change and wake up from our sleep. And it is an intense nakshatra which initiates that spiritual transformation as well. And for understanding its hard and dreadful side, we need to we already discussed the destructive aspect of, we need to check the deity and all the stuff. So we already discussed those things like Niriti, right, the deity, and what is the meaning of Niriti, and what are who are the parents of Niriti, who are the children. Those things we already discussed in our first video, right? So based on that, you can clearly understand the intensity, sharpness and hardness of this particular nakshatra. So it relates to the second half of the lunar month of Jesta, which usually falls in the month of June. So Mula also related to the the first, that is called as Padhyami Tidhi, the first day, or the Chaturdhi, the fourth day of the waxing and waning phases of the moon's monthly cycle. And the auspicious activities you can perform on the day of Mula, any activity involving getting down to the root of a matter, right? On the day of Mula, you can perform these activities, like if you don't know something, right, and you want to go investigate the thing, so on the day of Mula you can definitely do that. And the other activities like involving gathering together of knowledge people and singing, oratory, all activities requiring forcefulness and dynamism, good for administering herbs and medicines, suitable for planning, gardening and other agricultural activities, suitable for laying foundations for houses, construction work, buying and selling homes, good for expressing sexuality as well, favorable for adventures, good for getting even by cutting the chase, favorable for contemplation, self exploration and self healing. These are all the things that you can do on the day of Mula. It's meditation and right? These kind of things, like some people do go for samadhi yoga, this kind of things, right? The spirituality, uh, and good for initiation into occult realms, spiritual things, very dark things, right? Because it's very dark, its Mula is underneath the earth, so they have that capacity, the tantric things as well. So it does not favor any activity involving balance, diplomacy, and all. It's not good for, because they are very straightforward. Mula energy people are very straightforward. So if you want to be diplomatic on a particular day, if you do it on the day of Mula, the universal energies are not in alignment with your energies, remember. So it's not good for initiations or beginnings, it's mainly for destruction, right? So it's very it's very unsuitable for marital ceremony on the day of Mula. Nobody performs marriage. That's very, it would lead to a lot of destruction as well. So especially it's unfavorable for borrowing or lending money and financial transactions. Any kind of financial transactions you should not do on the day of Mula. So Mula combines the energy of Jupiter and Ketu, because Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius and Ketu is the main ruler of this particular nakshatra Mula. See, Ketu is the main ruler of this particular nakshatra. Being a destructive nakshatra, Mula relates to the destructive potential of Ketu. So Ketu's destructiveness is always, it's very benign in the sense that it either initiates a new beginning or a spiritual transformation. So Ketu is a planet signifying the root underlying impulses of all thoughts, of our thoughts and actions. The impulses that we have, the kind of the seed, or see, we have some thoughts, and the thoughts would be converted to our actions. But before the thought, there was something called as an impulse of that thought. That impulse of the thought is related to the Ketu's energy. That is related to Mula, that is root, right? So the roots of, it's also a kind of root. The impulse of a thought is also kind of root. So the root is related to Mula, and Mula is a Ketu nakshatra. It's very much in alignment with the behavior and nature of this nakshatra and this planet Ketu. See, it is also a planet which gives access and insight into the unseen realms, unseen worlds, hidden worlds, as the invisible, basically the invisible causes of visible things or events you can understand with Mula's energy. Jupiter's involvement with this particular nakshatra makes sure that transformation under Mula happen for the better world, for the better you, for the better self. See, although it may sound a bit uncomfortable, Mula also promotes non-violence and protects the good. That is also there, even though it is related to destruction. See, the destruction is something like, in order to save good from bad, kind of destruction is also needed. You can take it in that form as well. So it is a magical nakshatra, but see, only in the higher dimension and higher level, when Mula is working in higher level, that particular person can really use those, you can say magical powers, you can say service or whatever. When Mula works in higher level, then the native can use the Mula's energy for the betterment of the world. And Ketu loses it, the planet loses much of its power to give bad results when associated with Jupiter in any way, right? So but in its higher level, it's a bit good. How it is operating, we need to check. In its negative aspect, if you observe, Jupiterian energy can foster and expand the wildly destructive tendencies of Ketu. Ketu has this destruction, right, power. When Jupiter is actually, how this Jupiter and Ketu are present in your horoscope, that is very much important, as we discussed in our previous videos. So based on that we can comment much, but see, there are two things here. One is, based on Jupiter and Ketu, the person can become very destructive, or the person can serve the world with his power, right? So you need to check how this nakshatra is operating totally based on the Jupiter and Ketu's energy. See, Mula is a strong energy. That's what I want to tell. It's a very powerful nakshatra. It can either produce a benevolent sage or a demonic person, right? Conquering everything like Kamsa and Ravana, right? So, or it can transform a person to a benevolent sage. So you need to check the whole horoscope, right, for all the planetary energies, then comment on this energy. But see, every nakshatra is like that only, but Mula in this case, the thing is, it has that negative power a lot. So you cannot say a person having Mula energy is always negative. You should understand the whole behavior of the horoscope. See, Mula's fieriness relates to the fiery aspect of Ketu. Ketu, as we know, is a predominantly fiery planet, right? See, this particular nakshatra gives both good and bad results in explosive way. That's where you need to check the whole horoscope for Jupiter and Ketu's placement as well. Its fieriness makes it favorable for war and other similar activities, and it is usually victorious in all sorts of warfare, but a downfall definitely takes place at some point of time, as we discussed in our previous videos. See, most prominent generals and military leaders, they have a very prominent planet placed in Mula Nakshatra. Like you take Adolf Hitler. So Adolf Hitler is an example of negative influences, right, of this Jupiter and Ketu energies. See, he is one of the few people to have Jupiter Ketu conjunction in Mula. You would see very less number of people with Jupiter and uh, you know Ketu in Mula, but of course you need to check the house and, right, the whole energies. See, that complete expression you can find in Adolf Hitler, this Jupiter Ketu's complete expression of the tremendous power inherent in this particular nakshatra. That is the power of Mula, right? See, it is Jupiter's task to guide the Ketu energy in a wise and beneficial way. But see, this is usually only achieved when the energies of Jupiter and Saturn are harmonized properly in a horoscope. In Adolf Hitler's horoscope, if you observe, Saturn didn't aspect the Jupiter Ketu conjunction. So Saturn is required to stabilize this whole energy, right? See, in his horoscope, Saturn didn't aspect Jupiter Ketu conjunction, that is in Mula Nakshatra. See, allowing this particular Saturn is not aspect in Jupiter Ketu conjunction, allowing for a kind of darker demonic energies of Mula are there in Adolf Hitler, right? Because if Saturn aspect is present, at least it would become a bit restrictive and it is a bit controlled. See, Jupiter Ketu conjunction, any horoscope that carries energy similar to Mula, and in Adolf Hitler's horoscope, Jupiter Ketu conjunction occurred in Mula Nakshatra itself, so it has become more explosive and there is no restriction at all on this energy. A well placed Sun, Mars, and Jupiter do well in Mula as well. Ketu almost always gives some extreme, uh, you can say, extreme power in this particular nakshatra, right? So it's not a regular nakshatra, it's a very powerful one. And if you see the sexual animal of this nakshatra, it is dog. So it is more of a howling hound dog rather than a Scottish terrier, right? So it is most compatible with Ardra, the just another dog nakshatra. And Mula is the first among the nakshatras that are symbolizing spiritual energy of the spiritual journey of the soul, right? Because in Anuradha the Kundalini awakening takes place, the drive, and then Jesta the material achievement is taking place. Then in Mula generally you can see lot of power, and it is the starting of the spiritual journey. And the first set of 9 nakshatras, second set of 9 nakshatras, and Mula is starting the third set of 9 nakshatras, right? And that is where the spiritual journey of the soul is also started. See, it follows the 18th nakshatra, that is Jesta. Mula is 19th. See, Jesta is the most is the last one among the second series, right? Those are all materialistic. Jesta is about materialistic achievements and accomplishments. Even Anuradha is related to materialism, but they have a lot of strong spiritual sense always inbuilt, right? You can check the Anuradha's video for better understanding. See, even Ravana and Kamsa, we talked about, were finally initiated on a spiritual path after they were defeated in battle by the incarnations of Vishnu, Rama and Krishna, right? So a spirituality which Mula brings about is different from that of other nakshatras. See, that is, Mula goes for the root of everything. And so in spiritual terms, if you want to see this, Mula settles for nothing. It settles for nothing, right? And only it settles to unite with the universal soul. Who they fought with? This Ravana and Kamsa. They fought with God. Just remember. So finally, after that what happened? They wanted to merge into Paramatma, that is the God. Finally, the universal soul, they wanted to merge in the universal soul. So after so much of extremes or extreme ways, right, they have that spiritual transformation. That's what I want to tell, right? So they do not listen at all, right? Finally they are fighting with God, and finally, after that they are merging with that godly soul. Extreme ways, that is the behavior, right? The extremity is for good cause or bad cause, that we need to understand. And sometimes it discards everything using the principle of, it's not this is not what I wanted, this is not what. They do not settle down, it's at other times it goes for accumulating immense power in the all the lokas as well. And see, if you observe the behavior of Ravana and Kamsa, what was their aim? Their aim was accumulating immense power in all the lokas, like heaven, earth, or whatever. So after gaining that power, what they did, they actually misused that power, so that root deities like Vishnu have to personally intervene. All right. See, in this intervention lies the key to its salvation. So Mula's final thing is what? They are doing lot of destruction, they are gaining power, they are even fighting with gods, and finally what they want, when they settle down after losing in the wars with gods, right? And then they wanted salvation. That is the inner meaning of Mula. Mula's final, that it has a lot of power, it is not settling down at all. It's something like, they're very, very dangerous, they're very, very, it's destructive, and finally they settle down after losing war with a great person, with not great person, with great with God, but the with the ultimate God, right? And then they settled down. They merged with Paramatman after that. Paramatman in the sense the universal soul, the God itself. See, and also it is related to goddess Kali. On this path, Mula goes after and destroys the demons and negatives within, right? Without mercy, here also. And once this is done, only Sattva remains, because once all the bad things are killed, there is nothing to kill now, right? So, what next? Liberation. So this particular path of Mula, it devotes itself to being a tool of the universal mind rather than being a just a rebel, right? So even if you observe the life story of Anjaneya, that is Hanuma, uh, an incarnation of Shiva, right? Generally we say he's a devotee of Rama as well. It's incarnation of Vishnu. Rama is incarnation of Vishnu. So that's something like that kind of spirituality also you can see in Mula, right? So it's something like Hanuma also did a lot of things in his life, but finally he felt very happy and became very calm and very pleasant after meeting Rama. So just I'm just quoting this one. I'm not telling Hanuma is somewhere related to Mula. I'm not at all telling that. Of course, when we discuss Swati Nakshatra, we discuss Hanuma. But here I am telling the behavior of Mula is something like it's going to extremes, always going to extremes, and then finally, you know, the transformation takes place when they meet great people. That's what I want to tell. Right? That is the inner core meaning here, based on the stories of Ravana and Kamsa I'm telling. So Mula's association with the center of the galaxy relates it to Brahma also, because Brahma is the creator. So the Brahma is the creator, right? So the creation, right, or the root is somehow related to Mula as well. That's what I want to tell. So Mula basically derives its power from the understanding of the original process of creation. Generally, it's another way of saying Mula is generally goes to the roots of everything. And another important thing is the 19th nakshatra. What is 19? 19 is a solar number, and that signifies beginning and as well as completion as well. See, 19 has the power to stand before the spiritual sun because it has gone beyond the lunar functionings, and the lunar functionings are also ended. You can say they are ended by 18, that is Jesta. See, the number 19, that is what Mula is. That indicates power and prosperity also on the material plane. Even though its presiding deity Nirti is supposed to be averse to material abundance and prosperity, right? But 19 is a number related to prosperity, right? So they achieve some kind of power if they try. Of course, you need to check other planetary positions. If Jupiter is not well, what they can do? If Ketu is not well placed, what they can do, right? And the nakshatra is related to sage Pulastya, one of the 7 celestial sages looking after the affairs of our galaxy. So the name of this sage, if you observe, it's something like having smooth hair, as we discussed in our videos. So Pulastya appears to be a two-sided sage. His lighter benevolent side is expressed through his connection with Mrigashira and Uttara Falguni as well, right? But his connection with Mula and Pura Bhadrapada reveals a destructive aspect underneath the benign exterior of this sage, right? So For those who are suffering from bad effects of this particular nakshatra, the best remedial measure is worship the deity Kali, or if they want, they can worship Rudra. Meditation is one thing that they can do generally for constructive utilization of Mula energy. Repetition of mantras like Om Nam, Om Pam, Om Pham, these three mantras every day 108 times, especially on the day moon is transiting this Mula Nakshatra. That will definitely reduce the suffering of this particular, the suffering because of the afflicted Mula, right? If any afflicted planet is placed in Mula, they should better chant these mantras. And another important thing is persons who are benefiting from Mula energy also can chant these mantras, and it's very helpful for them to wear mixture of black, red and golden colors or earth tones, and they should use directions and lunar months as we discussed in our videos. And a very correct example, if you observe, we give when we try to discuss Mula is Ravana, the mightiest Titan king in Ramayana, right? That is in Treta Yuga. It's called Silver Age generally. See, he was born with his ascendant Lord's son placed in Mula Nakshatra. See how much he was into that power, right? So Ramayana, if you observe, in Ramayana he gained immense power and lordship over the three worlds through hard penances aimed at pleasing Shiva. This shows Mula's ability to gain power on a universal level through a close association with the root forces. Shiva is the root force here, right? So by close connection with Shiva, by completely devoting to Shiva, he gained power over all the lokas. But he, however, fell prey to the Mula's energy finally, right? And what Mula's energy is doing? Finally, there was a war he was involved in a war with Rama, and finally he was defeated in that war, and he became villain in Ramayana, right? So Rama, the seventh incarnation of Vishnu, of course, and the super deity of Ramayana, right? And if you observe, generally we talk about Kamsa as well, but as we talked about Ravana, the negative energies, and if you talk about Hanuma, in the same Ramayana, Hanuma, if you observe, the incarnation of 11th Rudra, he is called as incarnation of 11th Rudra generally. And if you observe, he was also in Treta Yuga. He is mainly associated with Swati Nakshatra because his moon is placed in Swati. But if you observe his ascendant is in Mula Nakshatra, right? So his power surpassed even that of Ravana, but he always selflessly offered it to righteousness, right? So you can clearly see how Anjaneya, Hanuma, has relationship with Rama. It's a very good friend, very close connection. After that, he became a bit calm, if you observe. If you see the story of Anjaneya. Then Ravana also did the same thing, but he involved in destructive activities, and finally he merged, right? The positive energy and the negative energy of Mula you can see here. But finally they had association with Rama, right? That's how Mula behaves. just to tell, you know, just to explain this by an example, I'm just telling this, right? So according to Varahamihira, in ancient Vedic texts, it is written that Mula people are harsh, rich, and happy, besides giving a fixed, luxury, loving, and compassionate disposition. So that is Mula. Mula generally gives power. That is a universal fact. But of course, you need to check the dignity of Ketu and Jupiter. But Mula gives power. How much power? Power over all the lokas. Rich. They can become rich. Richest of richest. Kind of. That energy lies in Mula. That's a golden energy that's in Mula. But it is a bit, after gaining power, what they did, Ravana and Kamsa. That's what I am telling. And finally, when they settled down after meeting supreme power. That is the behavior of Mula. Mula is not a normal nakshatra. That's what I want to tell. Right? So this is the end of Mula's episodes here. But I want to make some, detailed videos of, because some energies are really interesting here. So after completing all the nakshatras, we may need to focus on each nakshatra fundamental level, very in detailed analysis we will try to do. The next video will try to understand the 20th nakshatra, that is Purvashadha, the core of Sagittarius. Thanks for watching this video.